Hi everybody, how's it going? This is actually my second video I'm shooting today. I was on vacation last week down in Orlando and Clearwater, visiting family, doing the Thanksgiving thing. And then I came back Saturday, had to work Sunday. Sunday's my long day at work, going at 8 in the morning and work till about 9 at night. And then Monday morning I wake up, I don't bother showering or shaving, I just kind of neaten myself up, put on a fresh shirt, and take my daughter to school, drop her off, and then proceed to do a circuit of the thrift stores in town. Looking all grungy, feeling grungy, but you know, it's a thrift shop, so who cares. So yeah, yesterday was nothing different, except I got to my first stop, which is usually the Goodwill. They open at 9 in the morning, and there's a sign on the door that says, guess what, all days now, 10 in the morning they'll be opening, so kind of threw me off. Yeah, so what to do? Kind of threw off my routine. Normally I hit the Goodwill at 9 and then hit another thrift store at 9:30, or else I'll find enough stuff that keeps me busy. I'll hit one of the other stores that opens at 10 and kind of work my way around, but had to kill some time, hit the grocery store, bought some groceries, and killed about half an hour, and then hit a store that opens at 9:30. Walked in, didn't find a whole lot of vinyl, found one record that looked kind of interesting, just kind of a neat pressing. This is a German label. Don't know much about it, but it's some classical music, Joseph Haydn, and it's Das Max Kaiser Quartet. So kind of a string quartet playing some Joseph Haydn. Yeah, it just looked like a really nice pressing. One of these really nice German pressings. Very clean. So picked that up for I think $1, and then looked at the books, found some neat books. Not really a book, but a little book of postcards here from San Francisco. I don't normally pick stuff like this up, but I just love the artwork on these. I love good graphic design, and these postcards are really neat. So yeah, couldn't pass it up for $1. And then found an old book that looked interesting. Took the price tag off because I didn't want to leave it on. It's a very old book from, I believe this printing is from 1897, it says. Not a very first pressing, or first printing. I gotta get used to book speak. Printing, not a first printing, but a printing for export. It says, issued for sale in the British colonies and India, and not to be imported into Europe or the United States of America. This is Certain Personal Matters by H.G. Wells. Nice old antique book here. Apparently didn't do a whole lot of research, but just looking around trying to find some value on this. Saw something, it looked like he was kind of laid up with an illness or you know, calamity or something, not feeling well, and so wrote some of these things. Just kind of you know, not science fiction or anything, but just kind of interesting stuff. There's one chapter here I thought was kind of funny. It is house hunting as an outdoor amusement. So talking about house hunting in 1897. So should be interesting. So yeah, that was my first stop. Came back to the Goodwill when they opened at 10, and unfortunately, nothing too exciting in the CDs, the vinyl, nothing real exciting, but picked up a few records. I'll go through those quick. Some jazzy type stuff, kind of easy listening. Keely Smith, Swingin' Pretty, arranged and orchestrated by Nelson Riddle on Capitol. Figured I'd give her a shot. I've seen the records around, but never actually listened to her. Shirley Bassey, everybody knows her from the James Bond theme songs, but this is the spectacular Shirley Bassey stereo pressing on Philips. Figured I'd give that a shot. So these are all, records are 10 for $2 at Goodwill here in town, so 20 cents a piece. If I don't like them, I just redonate them to a different thrift shop or friends of the library. This one I was actually pretty excited about. This is a guy named Skip Martin on the Somerset Stereo Fidelity label. This is the sounds and songs from the era of the Untouchables, recorded in Hollywood as Skip Martin and the Prohibitionists. So Skip Martin had played in some of the big bands of the day back in the, I guess, late 40s, early 50s, and then kind of went his own way, went to Hollywood, worked on, I guess, probably TV shows and movies doing the music. But he's got some of the bigger names in West Coast jazz on his recordings, and this one has a few. But yeah, kind of interesting stuff. Definitely, you see the Stereo Fidelity label around Somerset. This is the label that did like the 101 strings records, which I don't have no interest in, but they did put out some interesting kind of Hollywood jazz type stuff. If you see the name Skip Martin, it's probably worth picking up. A couple of living stereo releases from RCA, Memories of Viennese Operettas. Not actually classical. This is on the LSP series. That's Living Stereo Popular music, not classical. Classical would be the LSC series. So of course this is Charles Munk. Yeah. This is a typical Shaded Dog living stereo record. Everybody's interested in the Shaded Dog. It's in the classical. This one has a couple of light scuffs, so not really a collector record, but I'll give it a shot. This one apparently is kind of collectible. It's a soundtrack to a film, kind of an industrial type film that came out in the 50s, The New World of Stainless Steel. So one side's got the musical score, and then the other side's got the soundtrack with the narration. Kind of cool. I guess it was a record they gave out when they would show the film in theaters back in the day. So that's it for Goodwill, and then hit the Humane Society thrift shop. Or actually, at Goodwill, I ran into a fellow collector. He used to run a record store here in town, a guy named Ted, and he told me, he said, wow, you just missed, at the Second and Charles store, they had a whole bunch of records out in the free bin, a lot of stuff like Sinatra and things like that. So I said, hey, I'll go check it out. He said a lot of it was water damaged, and indeed that's true, but I went over there and I just grabbed a bunch of stuff. Anything that looked salvageable. I'm not a huge Frank Sinatra collector, but when it's free, I'll pick them up and clean them up and give them a shot. So someone had donated apparently Pop's or Grandpop's Sinatra collection, so quite a bit of Sinatra records here. I'll try to go through them pretty quickly. A Swingin' Affair. Where Are You? With Gordon Jenkins and his orchestra. Swingin' Session. I think this one has, see, it's got Nelson Riddle and his orchestra. So one of these has like a really hot jazz backing on it. I can't remember if it's, might be this one, Swinging Session. Nice and Easy. No One Cares. And so the covers on these, a lot of them look pretty nice. I cleaned a lot of them up. They were dusty and stuff, but you can definitely see the water damage on the back. They're not nothing to show off. Forever Frank, kind of compilation on Capitol. Frank Sinatra All the Way. This is kind of the condition they came in. A lot of these I cleaned up pretty well. Cleaned the ring wear and dirt off the cover, but that's one I haven't cleaned up yet. Here you can see another one with bad ring wear. Pal Joey, the soundtrack. Yeah, it's got some nasty ring wear on there, but that'll all clean off with some glass stove top cleaner. Just kind of buff that off. Swing Along With Me with Billy May doing orchestration. It Might As Well Be Swing. Frank Sinatra with Count Basie and his orchestra. Arranged and conducted by Quincy Jones. Come Blow Your Horn with Nelson Riddle and his orchestra. I Remember Tommy, his tribute to Tommy Dorsey. He was in Tommy Dorsey's band back in the day, back in the 40s. He was one of the featured vocalists. And so this is his tribute album, arranged and conducted by Cy Oliver. It's kind of funny because I remember they had this record in the actual store, in the Second Charles store. I got all these out of their free bin, But they had this record in their store and it was priced like 40 or 50 bucks. And pretty much the same condition. So, just seemed weird that, I don't know. The store, their pricing is just all over the map. It's crazy. And then Frank on Columbia here, Put Your Dreams Away. Compilation, The Frank Sinatra Story. Double LP set on Columbia. So yeah, instant Frank Sinatra collection there. Let me move these so I don't stack too many records on top of each other. I don't like doing that. And unfortunately, this kind of breaks my heart. There were some Disney records in there, some Annette Funicello records, but they were some of the worst water damaged. Grabbed them anyway. The records are actually, the vinyl's in pretty good shape, but the covers are pretty much trashed. But I know I have at least one of these, but I'm not sure about the other two, so they're kind of going to be placeholders until I find better copies. So, first up, Hawaiian Annette. Annette sings Songs of Hawaii. So you can see the whole bottom parts just come off with water damage there, and the back's just beat to hell. Yeah, but these are on, Disney had two labels, the Disneyland Records label and Buena Vista Records. So there's the Buena Vista logo. It's very easy to see Vista, but the Buena is really small at the top. These are early ones, just kind of a black label with silver printing. I think later on they used more of like a rainbow themed label. So yeah, not in great shape, but there'll be placeholders in the collection here. Italianette. Annette sings songs with an Italian flavor. And again, the cover's pretty well trashed. But one of the nice things about these is they had the original inner sleeves. So you got the offer here, 3 Annette records for only $1. I wish I could still send in and get those. That would be cool. And then Annette Sings Anka, teaming up with Paul Anka here. I've actually got another copy of this. I think the cover is obviously in better shape, but the vinyl on this one might be in better shape. And it's got the original inner sleeve that kind of talks about the story of how she hooked up with Paul Anka. There's the vinyl on this one. So yeah, kind of a shame. I don't know where the heck people store records that they get this water damaged. I mean, do they stick them in a shed out back behind the house that's got a leaky roof or what? I don't know. And then picked up a bunch of Command records. For some reason, the Command records fared a lot better than the Frank Sinatra and the Annette Funicello records here. There were a bunch of records that were in good shape, but people grabbed the other good ones and left these behind. But anyway, Command records, just good good records, kind of at the height of the beginning of the stereo boom, showing off ping pong percussion, things bouncing from one speaker to another or whatever, but beautifully recorded and mastered and all that, and always excellent musicians. So you got some Tony Mottola on guitar, sentimental guitar, Enoch Light and the Light Brigade Vibrations, Lou Davies and his orchestra, A Cheerful of Earful, the Dixie Rebels doing a true Dixieland sound, the Ray Charles Singers, Young Lovers on Broadway. And that's not the same Ray Charles as the soul guy, R&B singer. That's this guy, more like the Ray Conniff Singers. Ray Charles Singers, Something Special for Young Lovers. And then, speaking of Ray Conniff, picked up a Ray Conniff Singers album. Not some stuff my grandma used to listen to, I'm sure, but just curious. Remember reading an interview with Brian Eno once, and kind of talking about his influences in ambient music, and he mentioned the Ray Conniff Singers, just kind of the sort of the background ambient type quality of stuff like this. So I'll give it a listen and then probably donate it off. They're free, you know. This one's interesting. The Training of a United States Marine, Paris Island. So this is kind of a documentary record, I guess. Looks like maybe there's 2 records, but there's 1 in there now. Yeah, it should be interesting. It's got a little booklet. Yeah, it's free. What the heck? And then this one's weird. A little private label record out of Fort Lauderdale, Florida. Your Requests by Jim Brooks. So looks like it's something probably from the late 50s, early 60s. Some dude playing electric guitar. I'm guessing some jazzy type stuff. Nothing on the back. Not a whole lot of info on this. Haven't tried looking it up. I'm sure he's probably nobody famous, just a local dude, but whatever. It's free. And then finally, the guy I mentioned, Ted, he used to run the record shop. He mentioned there was a turntable at the hospice thrift store. Not a fancy turntable, but a kind of a cheap DJ style turntable, but it plays 78 RPM records, which is something I've been looking for a while. Just a cheap turntable to play 78 RPM records, and so kind of excited to check that out. Yeah, I'll tell you about that after I show you the records. Found a few records there at the shop and picked these up. The Dave Pell Big Band. Dave Pell is a sax player. Got into kind of arranging music and then being like an A&R man for different record labels. But anyway, he had a big band that did a series of these records. They pay tributes to other big bands back in the day. And they're on a little label called PRI Records, which is Precision Radiation Instruments. Yeah, kind of a manufacturing company that got into making vinyl for some reason, but these are neat because they're mostly on colored vinyl. This one on sort of a bong water colored vinyl, I guess, or tobacco spit color, or whatever you want to call it. Kind of interesting. I've got 1 or 2 more that are on, like, you know, yellow or blue vinyl or something. These came out, I think, in the early 60s. So, cool. So classical, picked up some classical. I don't know why I keep picking up classical. I don't have room for classical records, but I moved them out to the garage, and I've got a couple boxes out there I'm going to put on bookshelves, and pick up ones that I know are going to be good pressings. They're clean. This one on the Command label again, but this is Command Classics. This is Brahms Symphony No. 1 in C minor. Picked up one of these Command Classics records a couple weeks ago. I was just stunned by how good it sounded. Very well recorded, mastered, and pressed. Yeah, Command really did a very nice job with these things. Alright, get back in the sleeve. Mercury, this is a label that classical collectors kind of go nuts over. The old Mercury Living Present stereo pressings. Yeah, when I see these cheap, I pick them up. There's what is it, Mercury or Philips, they're Dutch pressings, reissues of these that came out in the 80s. Can't remember what the label was called. But to my ears, I think they sound a little better. Repressed on very thin vinyl in the 80s in the Netherlands, but super clean. I don't know, it's hard to say. And then finally on RCA, not a living stereo, but still a shaded dog. This one, Reiner and the Chicago Symphony doing Spain. Some Spanish compositions. A nice gatefold here with a booklet. I'm not sure if this one actually came out on living stereo or not. Yeah, but nice clean pressing, shaded dog. Just something to look for. These RCA, Victor. They had some really nice classical stuff from the late 50s, the dawn of stereo, early 60s. Columbia, their rival, not so much. I haven't been so impressed with their classical stuff. So anyway, the turntable. Yeah, so like I said, I've been looking for something to play 78 RPM records. Kind of slowly been picking up some 78 RPM records here and there, but hadn't really had a way to play them back. I've been looking for some way to listen to them. And this guy Ted had mentioned he had like a Newmark turntable, kind of a cheap DJ turntable that played 78 RPM, but he wanted like I think $200 for it or something, or 150. More than I really wanted to spend, but at the thrift shop they had this. It is it's called Gem Sound, which I think is just the same as Gemini. Another they produce like DJ turntables and speakers and stuff, kind of for the beginner DJ, I guess. But kind of based on the Technics 1200 layout here. This thing is really light, weighs like, I don't know, 8 pounds. Definitely not a high-end audiophile turntable, but it's got the S-shaped tone arm. Got the removable head shell, pitch control. Got the buttons for 45 and 33 RPM. If you push them together, it plays 78s. Got a strobe light. Looks like online a lot of people complain that its default speed is not correct, that you have to play around with the pitch control to get lock it in at a constant speed. It's actually a belt drive turntable, which is just stupid for a DJ. It makes no sense. So it's not a real DJ turntable, but I guess if you're a beginner, it's a cheap way to get into it. They still sell these online. The Gemini current version for like 135. But for 35 bucks, everything seems to be a nice working order, and it'll play 78 RPM records for me, which is very nice. Got a couple of cool features. It's got a switch on the back for either for phono line out or line in, so you can either run it through the phono amp on your receiver or just run it through a line in on the receiver without having to amp it separately. And another feature I like is the cords on this thing are super long. I guess, you know, that's set up for a DJ, but you got some long ass cords on these things, so I don't have to set it like 2 feet away from my receiver like most turntables, which is kind of hard because I have limited desk space for my equipment. So I'll be able to actually set this somewhere convenient by my receiver and not like right next to it. So that's kind of a good thing. Yeah, so 35 bucks, not the cheapest used turntable I've ever bought, but it puts me in the world of 78 RPM records. Probably not going to be the best sound, but what the hell. I do have some jazz 78 RPM records up there, some cool stuff. Got some Disney stuff, just been picking a few things up here and there, but you know, now I've got a whole nother realm to explore, which is probably not a good thing, because I don't have enough space to keep all this stuff. But what the hell, you know, collecting records, digging through thrift shops, that's kind of what I do for fun on my days off now. My days off are weekdays, so you know, my wife's at work, my daughter's at school, I'm just kind of alone and bored, so I spend my time digging through thrift shops, you know, just passing the time. A lot of the stuff I'm probably going to end up redonating as I just run out of space. But you know, I like to buy stuff, clean it up, give it a listen once or twice, and then pass it along. A few things make the cut and I keep it, but you know, that's what I do now to pass my free time. You know, now that most of my expendable income, disposable income, is going into my daughter's fashion budget and things like that. Again, thanks for watching. Hopefully this hasn't rambled on for too long and bored the hell out of you. But I'll see you all next time, hopefully.